I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So, before we dive into today's episode, which is breaking down all things Married to Medicine Season 10, I mean, it's full of gold diggers and frenemies, and ish is getting real in the ATL. Before we dive in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. So, with that, let's go. So, first up, I mean, I think it goes without saying, but we need Mariah Huq back ASAP. She is what, in my opinion, is lacking. I think Mariah gives gorgeous, she gives, fashion, she gives face, she gives the attitude. Like, I think she's more of like the Lisa Vanderpump, the Nene, the MVP, the Lisa Barlows of the whole situation. And I think that Married to Medicine is kind of missing that girl. We have a lot of women on the show who, sure, they have like their fashions, like a Phaedra, or maybe even like a Toya, but we're missing that girl energy. And it's not Quad. It's really not. Quad isn't even Married to Medicine anymore. You know what I'm saying? So we're kind of missing that girl energy, which is like a Mariah. And I love Mariah. As you guys know, Married to Medicine is her show. It was her concept. She is the one who pitched it to Bravo and NBC. She's the executive producer and creative byline. And to me, that is just such a flex. Like, I think it's amazing when you are, and I'll just speak for myself, but like, a Black woman creating a television show herself that's not Shonda Rhimes is amazing to see. I love to see it because I can't really name a lot of Black shows who behind the scenes is a Black woman who created it and all of that stuff. There's a lot of Black shows out there, but when you watch the credits, they may not be who you think they are, right? So I am totally, totally here for that. Now, let's talk about Contessa. As we know, she's not on the show this season. She kind of wilded out last season. I don't know if it was road rage or what was going on, but it was just a lot. But she looked the best she has ever looked at that wedding. She wasn't hulked out. She wasn't super aggro. She just looked beautiful and like in her element and happy. So maybe taking a pause off of the season to gather herself and to get everything together was a really good idea because she seemed really at peace. She seemed happy and she looked amazing. She looked better than I had ever seen her. So maybe next season she could come back if she's in that better, happier space. Okay. So we'll talk about this a little bit when we get to Phaedra's slide. But Phaedra is obviously a producer plant, and she's Quad ally. In order to keep Quad on the show, she needs an ally. And when I get to her slide, I'll tell you what I think is actually going on with Quad. Because I don't think it's what you think it is. I think it's something else, right? But they need that for the Dr. G and Sweet Tea storyline to be as salacious as it is. You need the ex-wife on the show because that's how you pit the people together, right? And I'm liking this season. It's fun. But again, it's a bit produced with Quad versus the Sweet Tea stunts. And I think overall, Simone and Jackie need refreshed storylines. If not sort of a new Married to Medicine person, another Married to Medicine wife. They're not housewives, but another wife. Because I do think that there's something missing. Maybe again, it's that it girl factor, but there's just something missing. I'm enjoying it, but it seems a little bit of like rinse, wash, and repeat with the storylines and the dynamics. And I'm not sure that Sweet Tea is the person to modernize and elevate the show. I'm not, it's not giving Sweet Tea to me. Sweet Tea to me. Well, you know what? Let's talk about Sweet Tea. Let's talk about Sweet Tea. So Sweet Tea to me is very immature, and I think she's in over her head. I think she thought she was smarter than she was. I think she thought she was going to come on the show, she was going to be Gregory's new wife and all of this stuff, and I think that she messed around and found out. Number one, Dr. Heavenly is not your friend. So you got all in your feelings, and in my opinion, I think you did the wrong thing trying to disinvite her to the wedding. Number one, that is disrespectful to Gregory because Gregory is really good friends with Dr. Damon. So unless you got the go ahead from Gregory to disinvite one of his really good friends, which I don't think you did, that was really, really disrespectful. And you can't be in your feelings because Heavenly is talking about you and they think you're going to make it on this show. Heavenly's whole career, personality type, social media presence, on screen presence is talking crap. So it's just your day, girl. So you got to get a thicker skin than that. So to disinvite her to the wedding, I thought was really uncouth. I thought it was very bizarre, unsophisticated. Just it was whack. It was completely whack to me. I was just like, this isn't the right step, just because Heavenly was saying what everybody was thinking. You literally had a meltdown with your sister 2 days before you got married over the how much the wedding cost, and I don't think that's your sister's fault, right? So crazy. Now, Sweet Tea, in my opinion, I'm not a Quad fan, but I did feel bad for Quad when Sweet Tea was low key shading the fact that Quad did not have any children. You never know what persons, whether it's a man or a woman, because there are men who also are infertile and cannot have children. You never know what somebody's situation is. So to try and come for a woman because she doesn't have kids is really disgusting to me. And the way she did it was, remember when she was like talking like, yeah, I slid into Dr. G's DMs and I said, I can give you what you need. And she had a little baby emoji on it. And I was just like, girl, like, don't do that. If you want to be with Dr. G, go ahead. But don't say, I can give you what you need. Which what she's really saying is, well, your wife couldn't get pregnant. Your wife couldn't give you what you wanted, but I can. I can give you a baby. And even if you did say that to him, you didn't have to say that in the confessional. You could have had a little bit more sophistication around how you talk about other people's reproduction processes or whatever the case is. And the gag is you got to be careful when you speak on people like that, because then in the next scene, she's talking about her own reproductive issues she's having. So you lied to Dr. G talking about I can give you what you need. But then you're talking about how you refer to Dr. Simone and Dr. Jackie and another gynecologist because you have fibroids and cysts and all these other things going on in your uterus. And I don't want that karma. So I'm not coming at you in a negative way. I'm coming at you in the way of what I was saying before. Be careful how you speak when you're trying to clown other people about important things in their life, particularly a woman and whether or not she can give somebody a baby, because karma knows everybody's address. Talking about I can give you what you need, a baby, trying to clown Quad because she didn't have any children. And now you're in the gynecologist trying to get your uterus cleaned out and sorted out. So you got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with that, because when you put that type of negativity energy out, it comes back to you. Energy is like a boomerang, That's why they say you get what you put out. You put out that negativity, it's going to come back to you. You put out positivity, that'll come back to you. You got to be careful with that. Sweet Tea also, I don't know. I don't think your quote authenticity is refreshing. I just find you foolish and very, very hard to watch, particularly on a show called Married to Medicine, where the premise of the show, it probably has devolved in 10 years, similar to Housewives, but the premise of the show is, either the wife is a doctor or the husband is a doctor, but there's a certain level of prestige, a certain level of sophistication, a certain level of class, sort of think about how they tried to make Potomac in season 1, like, oh, we are from, the Potomac area, the whatever they called it. We're so blah, 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 high society. They all kind of had that premise. And I'm like, what the hell is Sweet Tea doing on the show? Because as out of pocket the other women can get, even Dr. Heavenly, they still bring a certain level of prestige and class, to the show. Dr. Simone's, Dr. Jackie, they're very well educated, very well spoken, very well put together. And I'm not trying to shame Sweet Tea or any way. I'm not trying to be elitist. I'm not trying to say that she's ignorant. I'm not trying to say she's not smart. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is that the way that she acts is just very, very immature and very, very tomfoolery. Like the outburst she has, the, saying like, oh, I'm when they were like, oh, what's your favorite thing about being engaged? Oh, it's access to the money. Like, you don't say that. Even if that's what you're thinking, even if that's what your end game is, you don't say it. Or you say it in a way that's kind of like a little bit of tea, a little bit of shade. It's very sophisticated. Like, that's what I mean by sweet tea. I'm not coming at her for like education or the way she talks, like nothing like that. I'm just saying like how she actually acts is weird to me. And then also, when her and her friend was there and they were trying to act like we're stupid, like, you're not going to play in my face. Oh, we're in a Facebook support group for women who date older men. And Toya and them were like, you mean sugar babies, girl? Like, don't try and play in our faces. They basically were in a Facebook group for women who are targeting, and I'm using the word target because I think that's what they're doing, targeting older, wealthy men to pay for them. Is that prostitution? I don't know. She has a ring. I don't know. I don't know. But they was basically just like a sugar baby situation where it's like, hey, I'm a young, hot girl. I'll give you what you need if you're going to pay me for it. Buy me things and pay me for it. That is not me saying that I don't think it's okay for, and we'll just talk about heterosexual relationships just for this to keep it clean. Um, that's not to say that I don't think that there's anything wrong with a man buying a woman something, providing for her, being a stay-at-home mom or being a kept girlfriend. I'm not saying any of that is wrong. I don't think that's wrong at all. I think that's totally fine. But I do think there's something slimy about my only intention is to trade myself and my body for money with these men if you are not actually a sex worker. That might sound weird, but there's nuances to this, and I'll tell you what I mean. I'm a very liberal person. I personally think that sex work should be legalized. I think that there should be protection for people who choose sex work for how they want to provide for themselves. I have no judgment around that. I think there should be no judgment around it. It's not something that I personally would do or participate in, but I also wouldn't be a baker. I wouldn't be a florist. I wouldn't be a dentist, right? So it doesn't matter what I would do with my life. It's not up to me to decide what other people do with theirs. And I don't take any type of moral high ground. I think that if you are a sex worker, you should be protected. That's where I land on there. And I also think there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, when I want to settle down with someone or I want to date, I want this person to be financially secure. I want them to be generous with me. I want to feel supported. I want to feel safe in my relationship. But that has to be coupled with true, authentic love and true, like, I really want to meet my person. And these are my standards, and these are the things I value. Versus what I think happened with Sweet Tea and her friend in the Sugar Babies group, which is I am going to target these men and I'm going to exchange sex and my body for money and gifts. It's a nuanced distinction. Let me know if you understand the distinction I mean, but it just seems really grimy to me. Like, that just seems really grimy to me, like the targeting of it. Like Dr. G said, he said, I don't know if I'm the predator or the prey. And then to be on the show and to admit that you've been in this group, this sugar baby group, like, I get it. Like, hey, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. But I guess with me, it's like you either do what you got to do and you own it. Or if you don't own it, then you kind of get that slimy feeling. Like, I think that Sweet Tea did target Dr. G. And I think she quickly realized, like, this isn't what I ordered. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. Because she was already crying and stressed out and upset. And he was already, like she said, oh, Quad was right. He's very controlling. It's not about the money. It's about this, this, and this. But the problem is when you lead from a place of transaction, you have money, I have the sex you want, then the man is going to think it is about the money. But when you lead from a place of this is my female power, my female value, my presence is a present, and I'm exchanging that for your security and for your safety and for the comfort of your masculine energy, then the man values you for who you are, not for what you give to him. You know what I mean? And to me, that's the biggest difference between someone who says, yes, I want to date someone and these are my standards and these is what I value because I value myself and I'm giving as well versus, hey, let's get a sugar baby group together and see how we can get old men to pay for us. You know what I'm saying? So, it's crazy. It's crazy. Miss T says, is it a support group, hookup site, upside support group, or a love connection? Basically, they're calling it a support group on the show, but basically what it is there are these groups of sugar baby groups where basically what they do is they teach you basically how to prostitute yourself to wealthy older men. Do these sexual things and do this and that and do whatever, and they'll pay for your school, they'll pay for this, they'll pay all that stuff. Which honestly, if that's the line of work you want to do, then do it, but don't act like it's not that. Don't say this is a support group when it's really a group teaching you how to pimp yourself out. You see what I'm saying? So, sweet tea, girl, bye. And then also, and I'm not trying to be rude, but was the whole wedding $14,000? Was that the whole wedding total? Because the wedding did not look that expensive to me. And I don't see them lasting. I can't believe it, but I really agree with Dr. Heavenly. I think that this wedding was rushed, maybe because they wanted it for the show. Maybe they wanted to make sure that they got it for the cameras. And I don't think that these two people actually know each other. I don't think that she really knows Dr. G, and I don't think he really knows her. And I think that they haven't worked out fundamental issues that they have prior to getting married. Because when you say, well, once we get married, then we'll figure it out, or once we get married, then we'll go through it. No, you need to have all that figured out before you get married. Marriage does not fix anything. You should be married once you have it all fixed. And then have a place to go from there. You know what I mean? So it did seem very rushed. I don't see it lasting. I personally don't think Sweet Tea is a fit for the show. That's just me, just her personality and just everything. Like, I don't personally just don't think she's like a chemistry fit for the show. I don't think she's actually friends with any of these girls. I don't think they actually like her. I think they tolerate her for the show. But I don't think she's really like a fit. And I don't think it's the love triangle that they thought it was going to be between Dr. G, Sweet Tea, and Quad. Because they kept really trying to make that happen. They kept bringing up Quad. Phaedra brought Quad to the party, and then Toya basically kicked her out. They keep trying to make that really happen. But to me, the gag is I don't really care that Quad and Dr. G were married before. To me, more of the juice is this girl is very young, very immature, clearly only in it for the money, and she's in over her head. It's like that saying goes, when you marry for money, you'll be paying for the rest of your life. Because when you marry just for money, you miss actually the beautiful benefits that quote money actually gives you when you're only focused on the money. You need to be focused on the man. Is he kind? Is he generous? Do I feel safe with him? Does he provide for me? But is it only transactional? Because Dr. G seems very controlling, and it seems like everything is transactional. You do what I say, I'll give you this. If you don't get anything. He treats her like, a puppet or a slave or a kid because he has all, quote, the money, and he thinks he has all of the power. So to me, that's more interesting, but I personally don't think she's a fit for the show. I think she's thirsty. I think she's weird, but I don't know what you guys think. All right. Now let's move on to Miss Toya. So Toya will never forgive Quad, and I wouldn't either. Don't forget that Quad said that Toya was cheating on her husband, and she also said that Toya had something to do with Anila's robberies. Those are some hefty allegations to be throwing at your co-star alleged friend on a public international platform. Those are some big things. And Quad said all of that about Toya, which was wrong and was absolutely crazy. And I felt so bad for Toya. I love that Toya and Eugene are doing better and they seem to be in a much happier place. And it seems genuine. It seems like, they went to therapy, they're working through their issues, and everything is going to work out. And so I'm happy for it. I'm happy to see Toya and Eugene doing better in a happier place. Now, this is where it becomes questionable about having children on the show. So the sex talk with her boys was, yes, it's a very, very important conversation to have. I'm happy that they were having it. But is that something the boys are going to want to have shown in across America and beyond? What does it look and feel like for the boys when they go to school? You know? And so I do like the moments when they show vulnerability and their children and these teachable moments, but then we always kind of talk about, but how does that actually affect the children? And not just for Toya and her boys. I mean, like, in that it's a bigger conversation about, reality TV stars and minor children who are filmed and featured who are minors. They don't really have a say. So we'll see what happens with that. Um, Now, do you think that Toya and Dr. Heavenly will ever be friends? I feel like Dr. Heavenly has kind of loosened up on Toya a bit this season. She seems to be going more for sweet tea, and Toya's ire seems solely focused on Quad, which I totally understand. All right, speaking of Quad, let's talk to her real quick, okay? Let's talk to her real quick. So, Quad showing up at the bachelor party was insane to me. Like, I don't know what she thought she was doing or why she thought that would be like a moment. To me, that was very producer produced. I think that production said to Quad, you need to start showing up or you're just going to be off the show and you're not going to get your little check. Because what she was doing, these little weird side conversations every now and then, really wasn't working. And then my question is this: is Quad keeping her distance from the girls because they're all like, "Oh no, Quad doesn't call us back. She doesn't talk to us. She's doing her. We can't get a hold of her." Or is Quad being ostracized because of what she did to Toya last season? Now, what I mean by that is this: they might not all like Toya. Dr. Heavenly has always been super jealous of Toya. They all might not be super close. But I do think that there is a code. I do think that there is levels to the mess. And I think that Quad crossed the code lines, maybe with the cheating rumors, but definitely with saying that Toya had something to do with Anila's robberies. Now you're blaming felony robbery on somebody without any type of proof. And I do think that between the ladies, there is an understanding, there is a code, and there are levels to it. So, do I think that the women have some sort of understanding that they want to ice Quad out? I do. Do I think they're going to use the excuse that Quad doesn't interact with them? I do. Because remember, on these shows, if people will not film with you, if people aren't, willing to be with you on camera, you pretty much lose your job. And what was also very telling when Heavenly and Jackie went to Phaedra's house, and Phaedra was like, "Well, y'all are supposed to be Quad's friends, not Sweet Tea friends." And Dr. Heavenly was like, "Well, I'm Quad's friend." And Jackie was like, "Mm-hmm." And then they're like, "Oh, well, she doesn't text us back and blah, 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 blah." My gut says there has been some type of conversation between the women where it's been Quad crossed a line and she's no longer married to Medicine. And on top of that, I do think Quad is still standoffish. But I do think there is some type of understanding to kind of ice Quad out because none of the women talk about her in a positive way. None of the women are going out of the way to actually have her on the show other than Phaedra, who again is a producer plant. And why are they all rallying around Sweet Tea? They don't know this chick. They don't know her. Why are they going to her parties and all this and that? Like, I get it's for the show because the reality is, if it were not for the show, these women would not be hanging out with Sweet Tea in any type of capacity. They would not be at a bachelorette party. They'd be at the wedding just for Dr. Gregory on the groom side. but they wouldn't be about Sweet Tea. It only is because she's a cast member, you know? So I do think that the ladies feel some type of way about Quad. I think that Quad is one of those people who had Nene syndrome, where she thought she was the HBIC on the show. She got side projects, and then she thought that she was better than the show. She thought she was better than the other women, and she just thought that she was above it all. And I think the ladies don't like that. Like Miss T said, she messed up when she put sister circles in the ladies' faces. Exactly. The moment Quad got, something, another show, another gig, sister circle, she definitely became brand new with the other ladies. And yes, we have our favorites. Yes, we have the MVPs. But at the end of the day, these are ensemble cast. And when you kind of get that Nene ego, you get that Bethany Frankel ego going on where you think you're too big to fail, they will ice you out real quick. Either the ladies will or the network will. None of the ladies liked Bethany, and Bravo let go of Nene. Nobody's too big to fail, right? So I think the ladies feel some type of way about Quad, and I do think that there is an understanding to ice her out because they're just not that into her. Okay, now let's talk about Dr. Simone. So Dr. Simone and Cecil are clearly not happy as a couple. She's obviously the breadwinner, but they're co-parenting the boys. I think they're in a very unspoken territory of, like a lot of these couples. We've been married for 20 plus years. It's cheaper to keep you, her to him, because she's the breadwinner. And they're just kind of doing life, kind of co-parenting, kind of floating. They're not having sex. She said they hadn't had sex in 10 years. I don't know if that was an exaggeration, because honestly, who knows with certain people. May have been exaggeration, but clearly their sex life is lacking. Even for her son to say that is kind of bizarre and crazy. And she kept constantly saying, we're never on the same page. So you have to really listen to that. When people are saying something repeatedly, they mean it. She said multiple times, and we're never on the same page. That is a big problem. When you are in a marriage with someone and you're trying to parent your children and you keep saying you're not on the same page, that is a big problem. A big problem. Now, when it comes to Miles, I agree. Miles does need to start carrying his weight financially. If you want to work in film, then use all your connections. You're on freaking Bravo TV right now. Go work at Bravo, go work at Evolution Media, go get an internship at NBC. Like, use your nepotism, use your connections, use the fact that your parents have money and that you're on a television show. Go talk to Mariah Huck. She got a freaking show on the air, the show that you are currently on. Use every single resource you have. Why are you sitting around here like a freaking deer in headlights when you are literally on a television show talking about you want to break into film? Then go do it. You know what I mean? Don't take a 5th year in college. Go do it. Because I don't think that there's anything wrong with nepotism. I don't think there's anything wrong with financially supporting your children. I don't think there's anything wrong with utilizing all the connections you have. If you have a connection, if you have money, if you have a name, use it and rock it till the wheels fall off. But the problem with Miles and certain children in these situations is when they squander their opportunity and their money. Yes, give your kids enough where they can not have to be stressed. If you're able to financially, 100%. If your kid doesn't have to struggle, don't make them struggle. There is no glory in struggling. That's a trauma response. There's no glory in struggling. If you can make your child's life easier, by all means do it, but not to the point where you enable them to have toxic and unhealthy characteristics and habits where they're not actually maturing into self-sufficient adults. Because there's a difference between supporting your child and making their way easier because you can, versus enabling them from never growing up and from never becoming independent and from never doing anything on their own. Those are two different things. And I think that Cecil is confusing the two. And I think that Simone is trying to prevent it from happening. Like, yes, we have money to support you, but we're not going to just give it to you if you're not actually utilizing the support that you have, you know? And I think that, and I agree with you, Miss T. Simone is tired. I think she's tired of her husband acting like a kid. I think she's tired of having her kids in her house and supporting them financially. At this point, he is an adult. You've been in college for 5 years. You're an adult at this point, and you also have every opportunity given to you. You are literally on a television show. What's the problem? It reminds me of Candy Burris and Todd Tucker, where I totally disagree with how Todd raises his child Riley. Totally disagree with it. Whereas I completely agree with how Candy raised, no, Candy has Riley, right? I forgot what Todd's daughter's name, her name. Yeah, Candy has Riley. I 100% agree with how Candy raised Riley. You know, Riley was given every means, opportunity, money, didn't have to struggle. But, you know, Riley's going to school. Then she's going to go to law school. She went to New York. She did an internship at a law firm. You know, if you can make your child's life easier, you should, as long as they are utilizing it in responsible ways that creates them to be responsible adults and human beings. Todd Tucker is so dirty. He didn't want to give his daughter any type of money, any type of support. And Candy was like, I want to give her help. Like, I want to help her. Like, she's my stepdaughter. You know, I consider her family. Like, but she felt she couldn't because it's like, well, then how, do I disrespect my husband and go against his wishes? But again, it's hard to watch a child struggle who doesn't have to, particularly when Todd Tucker basically lives off of Candy's money. So, Todd, you want to live off of Candy's money, but you have a problem with your daughter living off of Candy's money because it's not even your money. Let's be honest. Let's be totally clear. Todd is Todd because of Candy. Mama Joyce had it all the way right. Todd is making movies called The Pass, you know, and it's on, you know, Peacock and all these other channels because of Candy. Without Candy, I don't think little Todd Tucker would be making all of these movies and having the career he is trying to have. Number one, because of Candy's name, and number two, because of Candy's money. He wants her to executive produce it. An executive producer pays. Come on now. Exactly, Miss T. Todd wouldn't even let her stay in an empty apartment. Like, how dirty and how freaking, you know what I mean, just disgusting you have to be as a human being to not help your child when they genuinely need the help. And you are told, and it's not even your money, it's Candy's money. And Candy herself wanted to help. Now, I know we're not talking about Roa, but since I'm on the tangent, Candy Burris, you're in danger, girl. You in danger. Okay? And I'm gonna tell you why you in danger. I'm gonna do another video on this, but I'll spill the tea for you guys who are on this. The reason why Candy Burris is in danger, me personally, as a creative person, as a writer, as a content creator, usually when we write something or we come up with something, there is some sort of lived experience that's in it. We put a piece of ourselves in it, even if it's fantasy, even if it's fiction, even if it's, you know, Avatar. There's some semblance of the creator's life in it. It's inherent, it's subconscious. As creators, you never create something that is not a part of you, even if it's a completely wackadoodle story. Did you guys watch The Pass? If you haven't, you should, because Todd basically laid out the blueprint for how he is about to take Candy Burris to the cleaners. Because people always telling themselves, The Pass, the movie, to me, is a complete blueprint to Todd Tucker wanting to exploit Candy, and when he divorced her, try and get all of her money and leave her high and dry. The premise of the Pass, and I'll tell you this, spoiler alert, is a man meets a woman. She is way more financially mobile than he is. They end up getting married. She's trying to have a baby, but they can't have a baby. All this stuff, whatever is going on. They live in the house that her mother paid for. The mother is very overbearing and berates the husband because he doesn't have any money. Mama Joyce, anybody. Long story short, he convinces his wife that they need to have a quote, a pass. You know, and the wife is Drew Sidora. He can go out and have sex. She can go out and have sex. You get a pass, baby. You get a pass. Long story short, turns out he had all these loopholes in the prenup that if she is caught cheating on him, then he gets all of this money, all of this inheritance money that she just came into. So basically, what he did is he set up all these like cameras and everything, got the proof. And then when they're going through the divorce, is like, see, she cheated on me. I have all the proof. But she was like, but no, we had a pass. You cheated. And he was like, no, I didn't. And everybody in their life, the friends that they surrounded themselves with, were in on the con. All of his friends, people that she thought were her friends, that were his friends, were in on the con. They were the ones, the woman who was sleeping with her was in on the con. The friends were in on the con. They were setting up the cameras and everything. And then at the very end of it, they all talk about this powwow. They're like, yeah, man, you did a 7-year long con. It took you 7 years to get all this money from her. Ha, 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 ha. And in my mind, I was like, Candy, did you not read this script and felt like you were about to be reading a memoir? Todd basically just told you he married you for his money. He hates you. He hates your mother. And all of his friends are in on the okey doke. And you know how we know this? Number one, remember when Candy and Todd were getting married and there was the issue with the prenup? And all of his friends, his quote boys, were like, yo, don't sign that. Don't, whatever, it's fine. Don't get married, blah, blah, blah. They were all in it, be like, yo, you don't need to sign that. You're Todd Tucker, blah, 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 blah. And he was all mad. And Candy was like, no, we're not getting married unless you sign this. So he like had to sign it. And then anytime, and I get it, Mama Joyce clowns him, but I believe in mother's intuition because Mama Joyce is pretty much right. If you look at there was an episode of Roa where they did the premiere party for the pass, and the way Todd and his entire crew looked at Mama Joyce like they were in disgust, right there told me this script is basically a blueprint. Sure, they changed a couple of things here and there. They're trying to have this, they're trying to have that, but also having kids was a bag. Because, like, you know, if they do get divorced, I'm pretty sure Candy will be paying him child support, not the other way around. Child support and alimony. There's a lot of men out here that are getting children for bags, not just girls, not just women. A lot of men are like, you need to pay me child support and alimony. A lot of men are like that. So Todd got 2 bags. And then the last season of Roa, Candy looks miserable as hell because she is so unhappy in her marriage. Todd is never there for her. He doesn't support her. He wants her to slow down, but then he wants her to invest in and do all of his projects. They're clearly not happy. And that's why she was in a bad mood the entire season. And to me, if I would have read that script, I would have been like, boop, 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 boop. Hey, lawyer, we need to look at that prenup real quick and very deep and do a deep dive. Because I don't think that little Todd Tucker wrote that script as fiction. Because, and also a lot of writers, when we're first writing, we can't help it. When we're first writing, you're pretty much writing your own story. You know, that's why a lot of writers say their first novels, their first books, their first dissertations, it's almost autobiographical. Even if you have different people's names, it's just the creative process. You know, like when I write, there's always a part of me in it. It's not about me. It's not about my life. It's fiction, but you can't separate the two, really. You know what I mean? And so I was like, Candy, you in danger, girl. Todd basically just told you he has a 7-year plan. I wanted to Google how long have Todd and Candy been married? What does their prenup look like? What is the status of it? Because if you're willing to do that to your own daughter, your own flesh and blood, make her suffer, and you don't even want to share the money that's not even yours with her, different. Exactly, Lavender Blunts, like Kevin Federline did to Brittany, 100%. 100%. Yeah. So if you guys haven't watched the movie The Past, you should watch it and let me know. I got chills. I was like, Candy Bears, you're in danger, girl. You're in danger. He has some. I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's probably some loophole in that prenup that Todd was able to weasel in, or something happened, because Todd, I'm telling you, That movie is a prophecy, but I hope not. I hope not because I actually really like Candy and I don't want anything bad to happen to her. But yeah. Well, that was a tangent. Anyway, back to Simone and Cecil. They definitely need a refreshed storyline because I like this season, but it's very much rinse, wash, and repeat. Do you know what I mean? And I need some freshness. And to me, it's not Sweet Tea. She's not it. She's not that girl. Um, Very similar to Dr. Jackie. Did we talk about Dr. Jackie? So I do like Jackie's evolution to working less and getting more support at work and enjoying her life more, the more self-care, a little bit more relaxed, laid back. I do like that about her. But like I said about Simone, I need a refreshed storyline. Like, what's good? Like, what's happening? It's just the same old, let's go talk to Dr. Heavenly, comes to my OBGYN practice. Let's go talk to Dr. Heavenly. Come to my OBGYN. Like, it's just the same over and over and over again. Like, what's good? You know what I mean? I really want something new. Oh, that's a good point, Miss T. Miss T says, what happened to the book, Simone? So, like I said, because man, I tell you, I need to start like saving my videos more. But Simone and Cecil were doing the book, but they decided to no longer do the book because it was causing too many problems in their marriage. Right? It was causing too much problems in their marriage doing the book. And what I said was they shouldn't do a book, they should do a podcast where each episode on the show, they are doing a solo podcast, they are interviewing couples, they're talking about their own life, and then the podcast is out while the show is going. So people can go listen to the podcast while it's on. Pretty much a baked in marketing machine. And that's exactly what Meredith and Seth did on this season of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. They're doing a podcast exactly that I said that they should have done last season. But the book is off the table. They're no longer doing the book because it was causing too many problems, like Almarosa said. Because, like I said, they're not in a good place. I think they're coexisting, but I don't think they're like lovey-dovey-dovey. And again, I think it's one of those things, just like with Dr. Jackie, it's cheaper to keep them. I think, and I'm like, where is Jackie's husband? Where is he? He's out doing him. I think that they are, quote, married, but only on paper. I think he lives on one side of the house and she lives on the other side. And I think she pays him a monthly allowance, which would be cheaper than getting a divorce. I don't think she wants to have to pay him a hefty alimony. I don't think she wants to have to divide assets. I don't think she wants to have to go through a public divorce. Curtis, thank you, Adam. I think that Dr. Jackie and Curtis are actually separated. They just haven't said it. He has been MIA. They quote, got through the cheating. But I think that Dr. Jackie is a low key super freak. Super freak. She's super freaky, from last season. And I think that she does her stuff. I think he does his stuff. I don't think they do it together. And they're cool with it. And I think Dr. Jackie is just like, it's cheaper to stay married than it is to go through the divorce. And just like I said with Simone, but I do need a refresh story. Like, what else is going on, Dr. Jackie? Like, if you're not going to be honest about the fact that you and your husband are separated, give me something else. Give me something, Dr. Jackie. And I agree that, like, who said it? Lavender said that Jackie stopped body shaming people. No, that's the thing. Dr. Jackie is very problematic to me. Number one, she is very, very dry, very, very stale, and very, very bitter. The way she treated Buffy, publicly talking about Buffy's journey with being like infertile and all of her miscarriages. You don't, again, like I said about Sweet Tea, you don't speak on another woman's womb unless she gives you explicit permission to speak on it, publicly or privately. And then to be so mean about it and so cavalier about it when Buffy was clearly still going through it was disgusting. Like, she had zero empathy or compassion. And then also Dr. Jackie, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose. And I'm not trying to body shame her, but I do think that there is some disordered eating when it comes to Dr. Jackie. I do think that she has some issues with control. And I think one way she stays in control is through her body and her weight and what she eats. And then she goes on and calls other people overweight or unhealthy when the truth is your weight in and of itself is actually not an indication of your health. You could be quote overweight and be very, very healthy, or you could be skinny as a bone, looking like Dr. Jackie, and be very, very unhealthy. Weight is a factor in your health given certain context, but weight in and of itself does not mean you are healthy or unhealthy. And as a doctor, she should not perpetuate that stereotype and stigma, particularly when it comes to women. So Dr. Jackie to me is very bitter and dry, and she could get off the show for all I care. At least Dr. Simone gives some type of flavor with her personality. Dr. Jackie is just a negative Nancy. She's bitter. She's mean to other people, and she doesn't give anything. Talk about your marriage. What's really going on? Where is Curtis? Where are he at? He's probably with the woman, his mistresses, who actually have meat on their bones. Because the gag is the girls that Curtis was cheating on him with, those were the twerk girls. You know what I mean by the twerk girls? The girls with the big booties. He was like in the twerk girls. You're not going to tell me Curtis is going from the twerk girls to Dr. Jackie trying to get some sex. Nobody can tell me that. I just don't think so. Not Dr. Curtis, Curtis, he wants a girl with the booty. That's who he was in the hotel with. That was his little mistress. That was his little boo-boo bae. You're not going from the girls who can twerk with the butt to Dr. Jackie talking about I'm sexually satisfied. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. And again, I'm not body shaming Dr. Jackie. I bring it up because number one, she body shames people, but just around her disordered eating, I hope she gets some help for it. I hope she gets some awareness around it. But I definitely think she has some type of issue with that. And it's pretty much the unspoken open secret. Phaedra was like, I got a salad because I know you like to eat healthy. And, everybody makes little comments about Dr. Jackie's eating and about, her body and all of that stuff. But again, I do think it's dangerous when you try to tell people that you have to be a certain weight in order to be quote healthy. And that is truly not true at all. It's very, very dangerous. And Dr. Jackie, you can get off my screen because you're not very nice. Okay. So Dr. Heavenly just hates everybody. She's so mean. I know you love her, Adam, but you must love her because she's a mean bully. She's just mean to everybody. And I'm confused. Like, why is she going so hard for Phaedra? She clowned Phaedra's house. And I know that's just Dr. Heavenly, but for some reason, I thought that Heavenly would be a little intimidated by Phaedra and she wouldn't go so deep against her. Do you know what I mean? Just because she would be intimidated by her. But then again, Dr. Heavenly is so deeply insecure that she gets jealous of women who are pretty and beautiful and all of that. Like her jealousy towards Mariah was honestly hard to watch. It was so seething and deep rooted. And I think every time she saw Mariah, she was living through her childhood trauma and she saw her sister who she thought was prettier and better than her. And it's really hard to watch and sick. Same thing with Toya. That's why she's so mean to Toya, is because she thinks that Toya is so much prettier than her. And Dr. Heavenly has a big problem with pretty women. She called Phaedra a liar. And then she kept saying how Phaedra slept with Dr. G. Like she asked her that about 5 times. So did you sleep with him? Did you guys ever sleep together? Even at like engagement parties. Like what? Girls, please stop. Please, 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 please. Miss Teek says Heavenly's a whole kiki. Oh, I can't with Heavenly. I can't. You know why? It's because it's almost like a Mary where it's if it wasn't so evil and mean and coming from such a place of vitriol, then yeah, it would be funny. It would be a kiki. But the person's spirit is so evil. I can't partake in it. Like I can't rejoice in it. I can't kiki in it because she's so evil. Like they're just really mean. Really, 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 really mean. And she says a lot of stuff that is just horrible. I do agree with her though that Sweet Tea is an immature gold digger and that Dr. G is a volatile misogynist and that their marriage is doomed. I do agree with that. You know, as we know, there was domestic violence in Dr. G's and Quad's marriage, and I don't think that just goes away. You know, I don't think it's like, oh, he was only violent with Quad. No, if you're a man that's violent towards women, you'll probably do it again. And with Sweet Tea already talking about how Quad was right, he's so controlling and she's stressed out and all the stuff goes going on, the red flags are already there. Again, uh, as Sweet Tea, I'm kind of like, why would you sign up to be with a man that you know has been violent towards women? Like I know people get in those situations and they can't get out of it, but they find out in the relationship. Like he started out so nice and everything was so good, but like if you know that, why would you do that? You know, and don't think you're different. Don't think you're special. Don't think, oh, he wouldn't do it to me because he will. He will. So good. Prayers out to the Sweet Tea and see how that goes. And then Daddy is so checked out. I bet he's out of the door the moment their daughter is off to college. Like it's so clear that Heavenly trapped Daddy by getting pregnant. Like it's so clear. And I think that she regrets it and I think he regrets it. I think that Dr. Heavenly wishes she hadn't done it because I think that she wishes she had more freedom now and she sort of lived a bigger, different life and everything. And I think she does regret doing it. You know, Daddy is her whole world. And I do think that Damon resents Heavenly for doing it because she knew how that when he grew up without a dad and that how family oriented he was because he didn't want to do that to his kids. So she knew if she got pregnant, she would trap him. And she pretty much said it herself, you know? And so I think that he resents her for that. I think he loves his children, but he resents his wife. And I think the moment that Laura is settled into college, I think Dr. Damon is going to make his exit. There's been rumblings and rumors that he um is cheating on her, and also I think the quiet anger to me is one of the scariest angers out there. And I think Dr. Damon has such a quiet anger. Like last season when Heavenly was fighting at Contessa's house or somebody's house or Simone's house, and Dr. Damon was like, stop. He was like, just stop. And she kept running her mouth and he got so pissed. And they got out to the car and you could tell she looked like, oh no, like it's about to go down when we get home. That silent man anger is frightening. And I think that there is a side to Damon, excuse me, a side to Dr. Damon that none of us have seen that is frightening. Because when you bottle in resentment and bitterness, embarrassment and anger, and you swallow it and swallow it and swallow it, when you finally explode, it is scary. And then isn't there a promo where someone says that Dr. Heavenly hit him in the head with a frying pan? I don't know if they were being facetious or serious, but we'll see. I do think that there's something going on there with that. Yeah. Oh, did we cover everybody? Did I miss anyone? I think that's everyone. Did I get to Phaedra? Maybe I didn't get to Messy Phaedra. Let me see. All right, let me find Phaedra's. All right. So while I get the slide ready, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Da, da, da. Ms. G says, Phaedra said she met Apollo in 12th grade, but Apollo is 5 years younger. Phaedra is a liar. No, she definitely is. 100%. But Heavenly, I was like, girl, you going real hard over here for Faye. Real hard. No, Phaedra's a big time liar. Okay. All right. So now we're getting into Miss Faye. Now, I know a lot of people like wanted her back on Bravo. I wasn't a big Faye fan. I wasn't that big into Phaedra. Like I know a lot of people were, but like I wasn't. Yes, she can read. Yes, she can be shady. but I didn't think she was like that much of a vibe. But then again, that's just me. And I'm also not a fan of like recycling these people over and over again. I want fresh faces. I want new talents. I want, you know, more people to have a chance. So just recycling Phaedra didn't make any sense to me. But Phaedra on Real Housewives of Dubai versus Married to Medicine, from a chemistry um standpoint, I definitely think that Phaedra works better on Married to Medicine. I thought trying to cast her for the Real Housewives of Dubai was a mess. It just seemed like a sloppy casting, and the chemistry wasn't there. But I do think Married to Medicine just makes the most sense. It's located in Atlanta. She actually knows some of the people on the show. Personality wise, it just makes sense. Now, I definitely think that Phaedra is a producer plant, and I think she has an alliance with Quad to be her ally, because I think the producers needed Quad on the show to make the Dr. G triangle work. Because it wouldn't be as salacious if Quad wasn't around for Dr. G to come back to get married to Sweet Tea. You'd be like, okay, whatever. But the fact that Quad's supposed to be friends with the girls and she's popping up at bachelorette parties, you know, makes it more salacious, more of a storyline, right? Now, I need more from Phaedra. You know, she is a liar and she never opens up, but like, what is going on in her personal life? And like Miss T said, you know, she lied and said that her and Apollo were together since 12th grade, but Apollo is 5 years younger than her. But Phaedra's been lying for a long time. She lied on Roa. Remember when they asked her how far along she was in her pregnancy, and she lied about how far along she was because she didn't want to admit that she got knocked up before she got married? Girl, bye. Who cares? Tell the truth and shame the devil, you know? But I want more from her personal life. Like, if you're going to be a producer plant, fine, but show us this doctor you're allegedly dating. You know, if you can't show us him, talk about him in a different way, you know? What's going on in your career? What's going on in your social life? Like, she just comes in to have conversations with Quad and Dr. G. And that's boring. Like, I get we need those conversations to carry the show, but we also need some meat. Like, we need some substance. We need your own storyline. We need something going on in your personal life. We need you to give something. You know what I mean? And she was very much the same way on Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, where even the girls were like, you just kind of sit there and smile and you're very polite, but like, you haven't really opened up. You haven't talked about yourself. You know, what's going on in Fei Fei's life? Like, what's really good? You know? And then did you guys notice, this was such a shady boots moment, that Johnny, Sweet Tea's wedding planner, is the same Johnny that sued Candace for over unpaid wages? Remember when Phaedra was like, "Oh, I did a sketchy calculation and they owe you this much, blah 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 blah," and he went to Phaedra to sue Candy? That's the same guy. And so I was kind of like, huh, they couldn't find not any other event planner. They had to find the same exact guy that sued Candy Burris. And I was like, are you a Phaedra plant? You know what I mean? Are you a Phaedra plant? Just a mess. And then he goes 14K over budget as the wedding planner. Again, I'm just like this. Listen, was the whole budget $14,000? I'm not trying to be too shady, but the wedding didn't look that expensive to me. It kind of looked like it was just in like a mess hall. You know, it just kind of looked like it was in like a big room, and they had the entire wedding in one location, just the room and buffet. Like, the whole wedding literally just took place in that one, it looked like a cafeteria in that one room. All the setting was there. She went down, they said their vows, it was super quick, and then they ate and they danced in the cafeteria. Like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? I was like, "What is this? What, you're stressing over this? I could have planned this like, oh, in my sleep. Let's just rent a cafeteria. Let's rent a mess hall. Put some chairs in there. Here's a DJ booth. There's the buffet line. Go nuts." That's all her wedding was. Girl, bye. Girl, bye. Um, it was just insane. It was it was just insane, a mess. But Phaedra, we need more from you. More for you. Adam says, Candy, if you had to own a business with two Married to Medicine cast members, who would they be and why? Okay, if we're doing past and present, number one, Mariah Huq, for obvious reasons. She's the creator of the show, and clearly she has great business savvy because she was able to keep her show, even though Bravo and NBC tried to steal it from her. So I would love to work with her in that capacity. And then the second person would probably have to be Dr. Jackie. Even though I don't like her personally, I do think when it comes to business and keeping things organized and making a profit, I think Dr. Jackie would be a good person to work with. I do think she makes money off of her skincare and everything or whatever product she was doing. And she seems to have a lot of money and has, other than, paying her husband, you know, husband support, it seems like she's really smart with her money. So I would probably say Dr. Jackie. Yeah. So freaking crazy, you guys. So that's kind of where I stand on everything married to medicine. So put it down below. Let me know what your thoughts are and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And so I will drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat a little bit about Married to Medicine. But I'll also take candy cane questions and comments. Dun, dun, dun. Just in case. Let's see. Okay. Let me see where we start with. Okay. Adam says, not being shady, but Monica and Sweet Tea are the most desperate new additions I've seen in a while. I agree. Adam says, Angie is a sleeping pill. Adam's laughing. Whitney says, Adam says, Whitney is so fake. Adam says, Nataski says, true. Adam says, Meredith disappointed me when she refiled the bag of the narcissist. Oh, that's right. We went through this. Okay, you guys. That's right. Don't forget to like. Great panel. Thumbs up. Hit subscribe. Adam says Heavenly is the new MVP. Absolutely not. Heavenly is so evil. Adam says fair play. He says, will you miss Contessa? No. I miss how Contessa looked at the wedding because she looked great, but she didn't look like that during the show. I think Contessa needed a beat. I think that she was in a very bad place in her marriage. I think that she was just not happy. And I think when you get people who just aren't happy, it becomes a chore to watch and it becomes draining. And then they're fighting with everyone. It's almost very similar to Beverly Hills that we have now, where so many people just aren't in a good place that it gets very exhausting to watch. Like Kyle is exhausting to watch. Dorit is exhausting to watch because they're just so miserable. Not even dark like Lisa Rinna. They're just actually not happy people. And that's a very hard place to be. That's a very taxing place to be. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't miss Contessa. I wish her the best, but I want, like I said before, I want freshness. I want newness. I want different Married to Medicine people. And Sweet Tea definitely is not it. Miss T says cafeteria. She says the whole wedding was 14,000. That's what it looked like, y'all. That's what it looked like. Adam says a mess hall. He says that was sus with Johnny. Yep. Miss T says Phaedra house does have a lot going on. That is fair. That is fair. Her house did have a lot of different experiences and colors and areas and inspiration. And it's not my particular aesthetic. I like very either like very like clean beige type of look. Not that I'm like a basic B, but like I like an all beige house. I think is really like sophisticated and nice, or very simplistic yet sleek. Like very understated, like all the pieces are very curated. But her house is a lot. Definitely a lot. Adam says, how would you cast next season of Married to Medicine? Also, Mariah and Heavenly would have to be part of the cast. Okay, fine. If you give me Mariah, I will take your Heavenly, even though I don't want to. I think Dr. Jackie can go. I actually think Phaedra can go. Sweet Tea can go. Dr. Simone and Toya can stay for history as an Acres. And I think Quad could go. And then I want to bring in about 3 or 4 new ladies because I like Toya. Toya, this is the thing. The thing with Toya is that Toya always gives. She always gives. So whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly, Toya gives. So I think Toya can stay. Quad, to me, it's played out. Nobody likes her. It's over. I like Simone, and I think Simone and Heavenly and Mariah and Toya would be enough to be anchors for the show for like legacy loyalty, but the rest can go. You know? Yes, lavender, beige with pops of sage green and muted colors looks super pretty. Yeah, I love that. I love that aesthetic, 100%. But yeah, but then I would have to cast some new people. But Sweet Tea, Jackie, Phaedra can go. If I had my way, so could Heavenly. Because she's evil. She's mean. It's too mean-spirited. You know? Like, I don't like Portia, but let me put it this way. When Portia is shady, it is funny because it's not coming from a dark spirit. And she can really go down low and be really, really shady. But it's not coming from a dark spirit, even though I don't like Portia. Don't get me started with the whole Simon Gubadier situation, right? But it's not coming from a dark spirit. Even Nene. Nene can shade people all day long. It's not coming from a dark spirit. But Heavenly, it's coming from a dark spirit. Mary, it's coming from a dark spirit. Candace is coming from a broken spirit. Because I think Candace is deeply unhappy. I think she's really, really unhappy. So yeah. Lavender says, oh my gosh, I hate it when Todd did that to his daughter. Such weird behavior. I agree. And Manuel says Todd is going to leave Candy after the 10-year mark. That's what it says on the prenup. There, see? I agree. The moment he hits that 10 years, Todd is going to be out. He already told us. That's right. Miss T says recast. Yep. Adam says Candace is messed up. Yeah, I feel bad for Candace. I really do. I do think that I think she's hurting. I think she's really sad. I think her marriage is struggling. I feel bad for Chris Bassett. He got a really bad rap. Do you know what I mean? Or a super bad rap. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Oof. All right, you guys. I've been talking for almost 3 hours, but this has been so much fun. Miss T says, will Quad have a scene with Dr. G? That's a great question. That's something I would actually like to see so much more than anything else, really. You know, I would love to see a scene with Quad and Dr. G and what that would look like. Also, I wonder if Quad and Sweet Tea will ever talk. This is how I would feel. If I'm Sweet Tea or Quad, we don't need to talk because we were never friends. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if I'm marrying a guy and him and his ex don't have children, so there's no co-parenting to be had, then I don't need to talk to her. And if I'm the ex-wife, I don't need to talk to the new wife. You know, I would only need to talk to her if we had children and we had to all get on the same page with how we're going to raise our kids. Other than that, I don't need to talk to you. So we'll see. We'll see. Dana says, hey girl, hey sweetheart. Adam says, same, that would be good to see. Hey Rally Dimes and Sweet Tea and Dr. G are an embarrassment. I agree 100%. Like, Sweet Tea needs to get off the show. Dr. G should have never came back. Their little cafeteria wedding, we didn't need it. It's a bit of a mess. Donna says, exactly. Yep. Adam says, Sweet Tea, I have access to money. Catches divorce her. Watch she divorces her next year. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they had a prenup. What went on with that? You know what I'm saying? I agree. Woof. All right, you guys. I've been on for almost 3 hours. I'm going to go and rest my voice. But this has been so much fun. Miss T says, Heavenly is laughing in Sweet Tea's face. She really is. She really is, because Dr. Heavenly knows. You know what I'm saying? She knows. And I don't always like Dr. Heavenly because I do think she's mean-spirited. But some things she says are truthful, you know? But there's a difference between being honest and being cruel. And I think that's the difference between how Dr. Heavenly says stuff, you know? It's like, what's that saying? Like, if you tell the truth without compassion, it's cruelty. She's a very cruel person. Not that I have a lot of empathy for Sweet Tea, but I just mean in general. But I do think Dr. Heavenly is seeing the red flags and she's like, I don't want to have to say I told you so. But I think she'll be telling everybody so. Hey, Lavender Blunt says, thanks, Candy. Love your recaps. Thank you, sweetheart. Hey, Freddie says, Phaedra is a great addition, but I don't believe she's dating a doctor. Yeah, I agree. She's not dating a doctor. She had some guy on there blurring his face out, and then conveniently they all of a sudden broke up, and then now she's dating some other said doctor girl. Bye. And this is the thing. Like, I'll say this. If the relationship is actually real and he doesn't want to show his face, fine. I would prefer that than people lying about being single like Uba and Jenna Lyons. Like, don't lie that you're single when you really have a relationship if your person doesn't want to be on TV. Do that if it's true. But I agree with Freddie, whereas I don't think the relationship is real.